evening and many thanks indeed for joining us. My name is OMONDI and this is KTV Primetime News. It is a Monday, the 20th day of November, the year 2022. Tonight, we have a lot of stuff in what is happening in the country and of course beyond our borders. Today has seen a new dawn for the eastern DRC that has been protracted by conflict that have been perennial in the region for over decades. The peace talks officially kicked off in Nairobi today, which was led by the ESE chairman, the Burundi president Ndashimiye, together with the facilitator who was the former Kenyan president Uhuru Kenyatta. Just a lot for you, but first let's take a look at stories making headlines tonight. Education stakeholders assure security as the national exams kick off countrywide. Petition against the 4 dissenting IBC officials adjourned to Tuesday. Candle of Hope lights in DRC as the peace talks officially kicks off in Nairobi. Referee for Kenyan football as FIFA lifts indefinite ban.
This is KUTV Primetime News with OMONDI OTIENO.
Welcome to the broadcast. I'm not alone. I'm with the company of Macklin Echeng, who is a sign language interpreter tonight, and you're streaming live this broadcast on our social media platforms on Facebook, KUTV Kenya, and Twitter, KUTV_Kenya. It's also live on YouTube at KUTV Kenya Live. Now, the Kenya Certificate for Primary Education, KCPE, and the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, KPSEA, examinations have officially commenced today with the education officials and stakeholders promising security of the national exams. Our reporter Caroline Kimwele with the details.
A total of 2.5 million primary school pupils will sit the national exams beginning today, Monday, November 28th. Including 1,244,188 KCPE and 1,287,597 KPSEA candidates. In Kirinyaga County, over 25,000 candidates will sit for the exams, where 12,254 will sit for Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, KPSEA, while 13,304 candidates will sit for Kenya Certificate of Primary School Education, KCPE. One student will, however, sit for the exams in hospital after being involved in a road accident, while another one will sit for the exams in prison.
Za kufungua container mwendo wa saa 12 kamili asubuhi, na hata polipoingia mlipata all the senior managers were present. Umeona security officers wote wamekuwa present. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru Mungu kwamba tumeweza kuanza kwa utaratibu kulingana na mujibu wa ule mwongozo wa kwamba container ifunguliwe saa 12 leo asubuhi.
Homa Bay County Commissioner Moses Lilan has assured that all arrangements have been put in place to ensure that the 2 ongoing national examinations are undertaken in a secure and peaceful environment. There are a total of 37,868 candidates sitting for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education in public schools and 73 candidates from private centers.
We have the county director here for TSC. We have the county director here for education, and ours is to make sure that everything is going on as smoothly as possible. Being day one, there are few cobwebs here and there, but everything is going to be in place, and that is what we want to see, that at the end of the day, we have credible exams being done.
The Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome led the opening of an examinations container and thereafter the distribution in Murang'a County at Kigumo Sub-County, urging all the stakeholders to ensure that the examination period was not interrupted by any cases of malpractice that may result in cancelling of the examination results.
The exercise must be conducted with the highest integrity possible so that we avoid any interference with the examination. The students have come a long way. They have worked very hard, and I want to wish them all the best, but also remind them that they must not fall into temptation.
Kisii County, this year's Standard 8 and Grade 6 examinations have kicked off under what appears to be a new strategy in the administration.
For the KPSCA examinations, we have a total of 1,213 centers that have been registered to conduct these examinations, with the total candidates of 39,584.
However, the examinations that started early Monday have also seen a number of candidates from secondary schools sitting their home science paper. Jacqueline Wanjiru, KUTV.
And as the national examinations for the KCP and the KPSEA candidates kick off today nationwide, the issue of early pregnancies among the candidates has been given much attention. According to the statistics conducted by the Ministry of Health, 45,724 pregnancy cases have been recorded this year, with Nairobi and Kajiado counties leading.
As Kenya National Examinations kicks off countrywide, the dreams of these students, most so female students, are shattered when their education is interfered with when it comes to early pregnancies. Despite various measures being put in place by the government and various non-governmental organizations to curb its effect, the number of cases recorded annually nationwide is alarming. As the national exams for the KCSE and KIPSA candidates kicks off today, in Narok County, 248 KCPE candidates are sitting for their exams while pregnant, as 409 being the KCSE candidates. In conjunction to this, a candidate sitting for the KCPE exams in Tharaka Nithi County has given birth today morning before starting the mathematics paper. As per the statistics conducted by the Ministry of Health on April this year, 45,724 cases among students have been recorded. As per the statistics conducted by the Ministry of Health on April this year, 45,724 cases among students have been recorded. Counties that have been termed to record high cases include Nairobi, Kajiado, Homa Bay, Meru, Kericho, Narok, Kisii, Mandera and Bomet, with Lamu County recording the least. According to UNESCO, the high cases of teenage pregnancies have been driven by lack of education on sexual reproductive health, poverty and sexual abuse. Similarly, a collaborative research of July 2020 conducted by the Ministry of Health, together with the National AIDS Control Council (NAC), reveals that Kenya is ranked third globally with the highest teen pregnancy cases. Shadrach Smiu, KUTV.
Now, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, hearing the petitions against the 4 IBC commissioners, has adjourned its sitting to Tuesday to allow for the defense of the Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera to file a response. The decision followed an application by Cherera through her lawyer, Apollo Mboya, to have the sitting adjourned for 10 days.
Monday, November 28th, took a turn for the 4 IEBC commissioners, including the Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and the 3 other Irene Masit, Justice Nyagaya and Francis Wanderi, to appear before the Parliamentary Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to respond to the petitions filed for their removal in office. However, the sitting was adjourned by the chairperson of the committee, George Gitonga, to ensure free and fair exercise. This was after lawyer Apollo Mboya, representing Cherera, asked the committee to adjourn the sitting for 10 more days. Lawyer Mboya sought for adjournment, citing Article 50 of the Constitution on fair hearing, which states, and I quote, "Every person has the right to have any dispute that can be resolved by application of law and decided in a fair and public hearing before a court or in appropriate and another independent and impartial tribunal." The adjournment call was, however, opposed by the petitioners, claiming the lawyer is playing delaying tactics. The petition for the removal of Cherera, Masit, Nyagai and Wenderi have been filed by the Republican Party, Dennis Thombi, Geoffrey Langat and Steve Gary. The 4 commissioners are accused on ground of gross misconduct, abuse of office, violation of the Constitution, conspiring with top national security officials to alter the election result and taking sides in the August 9th presidential race. Auma Evans for KUTV, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Evans, for that report. Now, the third round of talks on the conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has kicked off in Nairobi today. This comes in the wake of the over 100 armed groups wreaking havoc for close to 3 decades in the region. The peace negotiations was officiated by the Burundian President Evariste Ndayishimiye, who is the chair of the East African Community. In the wake of the long-standing conflicts in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the East African Community is holding the third round of the inter-Congolese consultations under the East African Community-led Nairobi process on restoration of peace and security in the region. The host president, Dr. William Ruto, said the region is united with the common goal of enhancing peace, security and stability in the region.
It is self-evident fact that our region is united by a common yearning for peace, hope for unity, quest for opportunity, and desire for shared prosperity.
The former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the facilitator of the peace process, said the main agenda of the talks in Nairobi were to create a conducive environment for the disarmament of the armed groups, in addition to identifying the root causes of the conflict.
Indeed, having been to Goma and listened to stories of the suffering that people have gone through for so long, I am more convinced that no effort should be spared in bringing peace and stability to the eastern side of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
The regional heads of state also expressed commitment to finding solutions to the perennial peace problems, with the Rwandan President Paul Kagame saying that the EAC bloc can count on Rwanda's full support towards lasting a permanent solution. The Ugandan counterpart Yoweri Museveni called for harmony to defeat the rebel groups, saying that this would be made possible by combining the political and the military methods. The peace negotiations, which brings on board regional stakeholders, the RRC rebels and the community victims, is expected to continue till 3rd December, with the people on the ground hoping that this show of unity by the leaders in the region will translate into peace in the eastern DRC. Now, President William Ruto has backed Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja's order to ban nightclubs from operating in the residential areas following the numerous complaints from the public on noise pollution. Ruto promised Sakaja support in ensuring that the standards of the city of Nairobi are met. The governor had earlier stated that no nightclub licenses will be issued to the premises operating in the residential areas, and added that the licenses will only be issued to clubs within the central business district and the specified streets.
We can do business while taking care of other people, while being considerate of our neighbors. I know there has been some outcry. Your Excellency, yesterday I closed a few establishments that have been making noise in residential areas.
Just to assure my young brother Sakaja of Nairobi that please keep the noise away from our children. You have our support. And ensure that the standards of the city of Nairobi are the standards of the capital city of Kenya.
Now, the government will focus on the agricultural transformation to drive the country's economic recovery, says the President William Samoei Ruto. Now, Ruto says that the adoption of technology and innovation is the catalyst for the transformation. He was speaking on Monday, on November 28th, when he opened the Twiga Foods Distribution Center in Ruiru, Kiambu County. Twiga is a technology-driven company that connects farmers and retailers.
It is not easy, especially in this country, to close your ears to detractors, and there are many detractors. And this morning, Steve and I had a conversation and agreed that we are going to move until you tell us to stop. I know there's been a lot of, people to pull you back left and right, but I think your government and the work you've given us is to really promote foreign direct investment, promote domestic investment, and create an environment that is conducive for doing business. And there's one thing you've also taught us, to look at the positive side of people, not the negative side. If you want to see the negative side of people, you'll find so many negatives. But I think it's possible to focus on the positive things that are happening. So I want to assure Steve that we're going to sit together, as indeed the President has directed this morning, look at our framework for the special economic zones. We have got 13 privately licensed special economic zones in this country. And among them, very, very few have taken off.
Now, the Kenya Tourism Board, KTB, has termed events as one of the major catalysts for the growth of regional tourism in the country and appealed for the players in the sector to leverage on the existing opportunities. This is according to KTB Acting CEO John Chirchir during this year's Lamu Cultural Festivals.
Since the advent of the corona pandemic, the tourism sector has been seen to be more affected after the sector witnessed a shortage of tourists in the country, especially in the coastal areas. Speaking at the sidelines of this year's Lamu Cultural Festival, Kenya Tourism Board Acting Chief Executive Officer John Chirchir said that learning from the successful cultural event provided insights that other regions can replicate. The festival is usually marked by traditional dances, displays of handicrafts, and unique competitions on water and land, Swahili poetry, donkey racing, henna painting, and musical performances.
Learnings from Lamu, which we can look at and project to other counties, is the opportunity for other counties to look at what is that which they have that we can call the magnet or the top experience, which if developed is strong enough to not only pull and extract other opportunities at local level, but also gives a reason for someone or for a tourist to live where they are and make the journey to experience something unique in that county.
The 20th edition of the Lamu Cultural Festival, held over the weekend, has been hailed as one of the most successful cultural events in the recent past, attracting the participation of over 30,000, including foreign visitors majorly from Europe and the US.
We've received a lot of people, around 30,000 people, and that has caused a very big impact on Lamu's economy.
At the same time, Lamu County Governor Issa Timami disclosed that the county will hold 6 festivals lined up from January next year, among them the Food Festival, Fishing Festival, Yoga Festival, Arts Festival, and Maulid Festival, to keep the island active and retain its status as a heritage site.
During the cultural festival, I've had 100% occupancy, which is saying a lot. I've had to almost let people understand that they could possibly, like just normal guests, that they could possibly extend their reservations to another date.
Lamu Old Town has a unique heritage with more than 700 years of continuous settlement. Its rich heritage and tradition have earned the island a place on the convicted UNESCO World Heritage List. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
President William Ruto today raised concerns on the opposition leader Raila Odinga's planned public rallies to engage Kenyans on the ongoing probe of the 4 IEBC commissioners by the parliament. He has welcomed criticism from the opposition, but urged Raila's allies to ensure that they maintain peace during the activities.
President William Ruto has called upon peaceful criticism from the opposition, a day after opposition leader Raila Odinga announced a plan to traverse the country in a bid to engage Kenyans on the fate of the 4 IEBC commissioners. Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi and Justus Nyang'aya, who are currently being grilled following disowning the 9th August presidential election results. In a statement at Tatu City in Roiro, Kiambu County, the head of state emphasized that the opposition has a right to criticize anything only if it is done peacefully.
I want to tell our brothers in the opposition to work with us, to criticize whatever they want to criticize, but let's keep the country peaceful. That's all we're asking. We want everybody to do their job, right? We want to do our job, and we wish well the opposition in doing their job, but they should do it peacefully.
He, however, ridiculed the opposition for their method of airing grievances, saying that organizing demonstrations will not be part of holding any government to account.
They are free to criticize what we are doing. That's okay with us, and we appreciate, but I want to encourage them not to drive Kenyans against one another. Street demonstrations, street fights should not be part of the script of any responsible opposition.
The National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee began hearing the petitions filed against the 4 IEBC commissioners last week on Thursday, and the committee is expected to complete the hearing tomorrow before making a decision on the quartet's fate. John Wahome, KUTV.
On my chronometer, it's 20 minutes past the top of the hour. It's time to take our first break here on KTV Primetime News. A moment shall be coming back with the discussion of the night, analyzing and looking at the state of Kenyan politics. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us. See you in a moment.
Kenyatta University will hold its 52nd graduation ceremony on Friday, 16th December 2022 at the main campus along the Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The graduation ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV and KU website, Lola app, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786335111 or visit the KU website at www.ku.ac.ke. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
Karibu kwenye mitindo ya kipwani.
Nguo yangu wasenesi magire mtizea sana nena finira chechemekwe. Nguo yangu wasenesi magire mtizea.
Yani unavyoona basi niko kipwani pwani tu.
Wali unapopika inatakana uwe half cooked.
Bageri. Niko katika kaunti ya Kilifi, Magavazi ya Gede.
Stream live mitindo ya kipwani on our KUTV Facebook page every Saturday 4 p.m.
One interesting fact about this week's Ghanaian cuisine is that while eating, you don't chew, you just swallow. For that and many more phenomenon on this dish, join me, Justina Kadhambi, this Sunday at the Hill Park Hotel, and this is our delicacy show.
Why are you taking medicine?
Are you okay?
Yes, I am. The tablet is for HIV prevention.
Pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP, refers to antiretroviral drugs taken daily by HIV-negative people who are at ongoing risk of HIV infection to reduce their chances of becoming infected. If used consistently, PrEP can reduce the risk of HIV infection by over 90%. However, because it does not protect against unplanned pregnancy, it should always be used with a family planning method. To get PrEP and any other HIV prevention method, visit a healthcare provider. To talk to someone on PrEP, uliza NASCOP at 0800 724 848 or use direct line 0726 460 000 or 1190. This message is brought to you by the National Syndemic Disease Control Council.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pass vuguvugu. People pass ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
An educational show for all the family. Get ready for some exciting learning and fun teaching.
How does a plane fly over the sea? How do the planets float so weightlessly? Let's go! It's technology. Let's go! Science, you and me. Let's go! We're learning every day.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with OMONDI OTIENO.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. It's time for the discussion. Now, the Kenyan political landscape is on a different trajectory, with the office holders doing all they can to deliver on the mandate to the electorates and the masters who entrusted them with the offices. It is a government that made a myriad of ambitious promises during the campaign periods, and if not for the politics, Kenyans should be living the heavenly life as the 100 days in the office draws nearer. Lots have been said and done in the efforts to probably better the lives of the common mwananchi. Is it really the case? Tonight, we are looking keenly on the country's governance with the political analyst Neville Sind and Brian Korir, who shall be joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for dedicating your time for this discussion. And Neville, probably I'll start with you because you're just right here with us. So tell us, look at the Kenyan political scenery. We are moving closer to the 100 days in office, and you understand really that from the campaign period, this government that is in office made a lot of promises to Kenyans. The 100 days are yet to come. But do you foresee really that Kenyans living to the promises that were made by the electorate, by the promises that were made by the leaders? Are we something closer to what the leaders were promising during the campaign periods?
First and foremost, I would like to thank you, Sir Kenneth, for hosting me here today.
That's right.
And I also received greetings from your friend and classmate, Clifford Dimmer. He told me to greet you once I'm here.
Great, thank you.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. So, back to the main topic. You're talking of the Kenyan political landscape and how it's affecting the political space, right?
Yeah.
Personally, because we almost clocking the 100 days as it was set, and they're trying to achieve the agenda and the promises they made to the Kenyan people. And personally, I would say that I believe they should be given some time,
right?
Because it's too early. They should be given some time to, settle, get to understand how the government runs.
Right.
And, is when we can expect even much from them.
Right.
As we speak, there's still a lot that they need to put in place. Because remember, the incumbent government, they go to office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've heard people claiming that they go to office and the government coffers were empty.
Yeah.
So meaning they inherited, a dilapidated economy.
Yes.
And therefore, in as much as Kenyans are expecting much from them, we also need to be very considerate, right?
Right.
And get to understand, the dynamics involved, when running a government, right?
Great. So probably let us get the insights of Brian Korir. I don't know, Brian Korir, if you can get us and if you're getting us. So I want to get your insights. The government of the day, we understand that it's not so long when they had inaugurated and sworn in the cabinet secretaries and now the principal secretaries as well. So do you feel the government is up to the task of delivering the mandate they had to the Kenyans now that the 100 days are soon clocking? All right, sorry about that. You're not getting the sound for Brian Korir. We'll just rectify that and get his insights later. So maybe to get back to you. And now, what's been happening lately, we have seen the topic on the 4 dissenting IBC commissioners led by the deputy chairman, Julian Cherera. So we have seen the JLAC, the committee that is the Committee on Justice, the parliamentary committee, of course, who are supposed to hear from them, the petitioners and, of course, the respondents on their case. Now that during the inauguration, we understand probably, just to pick a line from what the president is saying, that they're not going to have room for vengeance in their government, borrowing from how the former president Uhuru Kenyatta led and probably supported who was his main opponent, saying that there was no going to be room for vengeance in his government. So what is happening with these 4 IBC commissioners who are dissenting, who are not in agreement with the results that were announced by the chairman, Wafula Chebukati? Do you see this as a form of vengeance, probably now tainting the government, making it look like it's talking from both sides of the mouth?
Yes, Kenneth, I understand that, right? But remember, there's some conflicting interests within the IBC, the commissioners, right?
Yes.
The Kenya Kwanza people, they're threatened in a manner that, if they leave these people, and Juliana Cherera is the second in after Chebukati, right?
Right.
And now when they assume office, or when they, Chebukati, because Chebukati is leaving in January, right?
Sure.
Now when Juliana Cherera gets in there, and with these other commissioners, remember, because it is assumed that they are, aligned to Azimio, right? They're having some sort of a leaning towards Azimio side.
Right.
And the other commissioners also seen to be, the other side of Kenya Kwanza, right? So personally, what I would, my advice would be that because of that, there's some conflict of interest somewhere. And there are some petitioners who petitioned before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee to have these people removed from, from the IBC, right? so that a gazette notice can be put for new IBC officials to be recruited, and also, of course, to pass the process of vetting, right? So because of this, and as Kenyans, we also understand a lot of things are taking place as we speak. The only good thing that could be done is that to avoid this issue of conflicting interests, I believe that there should be fresh people or the officials to represent the IBC. And remember, this can only be done when these other ones are, they're out of office, right?
Right.
And remember, this is mainly being done, to address the issue of the conflicting interest within the IBC, right? So that even if they're removed, and therefore when the other ones are being recruited, then it is a fair, it's a process that is fair.
Yeah.
And that the people that are going to be recruited as new IBC officials do not have some political, alignment.
All right. Great. So I don't know. That is really interesting, and I still want us to delve on that. Probably there could be conflicting interests. That's why we are seeing this. I don't know whether Brian Koriri is back. All right, we are not getting Brian Koriri yet, but now that, of course, borrowing from what you've said, that there could be a possibility of conflicting interest. That's why we are seeing the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee really tough on the 4 dissenting IBC commissioners, and probably looking at the setup and the formation of the JLAC, the chairman of the JLAC. During the presidential election petition, the chairman of the JLAC was among the legal minds that were representing President William Ruto. Do you see any chance of probably it going smoothly for these 4 dissenting IBC commissioners, and probably whatever reason that was raised by the opposition leader Raila Odinga, saying that what's happening with the 4 IBC commissioners could be a plot by the sitting government to, whitewash probably the 2027 general election. So what is your take on this, dear?
It's a good question, Saken. This issue, it is a serious issue, by the way. And remember, just as you said, that the chairman of the JLAC was one of the president's, legal minds, right? If you look at that keenly, or in a broader perspective, that is, there's still conflict of interest, right? Because the ruling, of course, it would be the one you expect, right?
Yes.
So the issue is to address the conflicting, the issue of conflict interest from both of the political divides, right? That is the Azimio and the UDA. Because this issue is, it's gaining some grounds as time goes by. So to address this issue, they should come up, with a fresh, they recruit fresh IBC officials. They go through, the required processes, like the vetting and, confirmation by Parliament, and, they're put there. And what should be ensured is that they're not leaning towards any, side of the political divide, right?
Great. And probably talking of that, of course, probably, we understand that if we get to, a recruitment of fresh recruitments to replace these 4 dissenting IBC commissioners, it's really tedious and time-consuming process. And there's a lot, of course, engaged. It's not just a matter of appointing for who you want to what. But looking at the setup of the current, the government of the day, they have the numbers. They have the numbers, of course, in the National Assembly and, of course, also in the Senate. do the opposition still have a voice in, trying to trying to make realignments in how the government should run its activities? Because now even for what the opposition leader Raila Odinga is calling for engaging public participation on the case of the 4 dissenting IBC commissioners, there have been conditions that have been set. The president has said that it should be done peacefully and security will be provided. The Interior CS has affirmed that they will provide security to ensure that the demonstrations are done in the right way. Is it really the right way, or is it just a coating to say that probably they will limit on how this public participation, as it's been termed by the opposition leader Raila Odinga, is set to do its thing?
Yes, second, good question. The opposition leader, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, a person I respect so much, and the president himself, these are people I respect so much, and I've been keenly looking, into how they do their politics. These are people I respect, and based on whatever you works there, Sir Kenneth. Within the law, there's that provision, for demonstrating, peacefully.
Yeah.
Peaceful protest,
right.
Or rather peaceful demonstration, right? Meaning they demonstrate, but within the confines of the law, right? Meaning they do not get to, vandalize properties, they loot or, do all such kind of things. But the issue is here. In as much as the opposition leader, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, he wants to engage the public, right? Which is something very, very good indeed, because it is public participation, right?
Right.
And you've seen the president, he's also put, forward his statement that they should do it peacefully and, of course, within the confines of the law, right? So I'm looking into this issue and I'm like, will this really ensure, or will it, climax or, culminate into, will it really try to solve the issue of the 4 dissenting IBC officials, right? Because the big question is, the big issue here is the conflict of interest.
Right.
If you look at it so keenly. And remember, if you look at the JLAX committee, the way it's structured, it is structured in such a manner that the chairperson, the way you said, was one of the president's best legal minds, right?
Right.
During the 2-2 presidential petition. And, there are a lot of things that are conflicting here. So, would somebody suggest, or what type of an idea would an individual moot to the government, including the opposition, that for them to address this issue? I still go back to whatever I said earlier. To avoid all these chaos, all these things that are happening within the political space, why don't they just go for a fresh recruitment?
All right.
And, after that, they pass through the required processes and ensure that they recruit people that do not have some form of political alignment, right? I believe this will address this issue of, conflict of interest.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And probably, when the President, William Samoei Ruto, was giving his maiden speech during his inauguration as the president, he said that the 2022 general election was one of its kind, an election that just required you to have your calculator and you'll be able to know who the presidential winner is. So probably they might not delve much on the commissioners because, the ruling that was made, of course, by the Supreme Court as well, it didn't give much weight on the dissension of the 4 IBC commissioners. So away from that, let us look at the Hustler government. The Hustler government, we have seen what has happened in Nairobi, where the governor, Johnson Sakaja, saying that the clubs won't be operating at night in the residential places because of noise pollution. And of course, this has elicited mixed reactions from residents of the city, saying that, a lot of comments were done by the Kenyan netizens saying that, that is the hustler government that you elected in place. And a lot of things, of course, the government doing to make sure that probably things are right for Kenyans and the common rancher are living to, the heavenly promises that were made by them. What do you make of this move that has been made by the hustler government, that is the Nairobi governor Johnson Sakaja, which has also been endorsed by the President William Ruto? What do you make of all this? Do you think probably, as Kenyans are putting it, that now this one is limiting our earnings? And remember, we are added to the festive seasons where you expect Kenyans to probably spend a lot of time with friends in these joints, probably at night, because that's when you find time from work.
A good question indeed. It's one of the best moves that the Nairobi governor and even the president having endorsed that. It is one of the best moves because they're trying to bring order and sanity within the CBD, right? And remember, in as much as they're trying to bring order and sanity within the CBD, which is one of the best things to do, they should, give an alternative for these business people.
Great.
Right? The people operating the bars, the clubs, they should give them an alternative because, I cannot just wake up one day and say that because you're operating here and say from today onwards we don't want you here, right? And you have not, given me an alternative on how I'll be doing my business, right? Remember the people employed there, that's the way their job has ended. If you look at, the person operating, owning the bar, he's, gotten into losses. So it's a good move because they're trying to bring order and sanity within the CBD. And remember, they should give an alternative to these people. Now that they are removing them from, this space, then where can we be taken to? So that we continue doing our business and they continue employing some of our Kenyans and life moves on.
All right, and of course we are seeing on the latest happenings that the National Authority for the Campaigns Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, has also endorsed the move that has been given by the Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja to bar the nightclubs from operating at night. Away from that, let us look at another issue that has been of contention in the past few days, the issue of GMOs. And let us just move it back to what the sentiments of the trade CS, Moses Kuria, was saying that once you're a Kenyan, you're a candidate of death, and among them, the GMOs should be there. What do you make of these sentiments that were made by the trade CS concerning the GMOs?
I want to say that the trade CS was just trying to bring some comical aspect in his speech, right? He was just trying to bring some humor out of his speech. Because to me, if I look at it so keenly, I believe he talked on a lighter note. Because remember, when he talked, so many people laughed behind him. I don't know whether it was in front of him or behind him. He was just trying to bring some comical aspect. And therefore, of course, it sparked public outrage. And I want to say that this thing was on a lighter note. I believe he did not mean whatever he was saying at that particular time. And therefore, even Moses Kuria, the trade CS himself, would not want to bring something that, would bring some issues to do with health for the Kenyans, right? And remember, for the issue of GMOs, it is believed that GMOs are cancerous, right? And how can we solve the issue of GMOs? First and foremost, we need to have a good health infrastructure.
Right.
Good health infrastructure that is put in place to address issues resulting from the foods we take. we take. Not only the foods we take, but even, looking at the health on a wider spectrum, right?
Yes.
It will address these issues. So before we import the GMOs, we should look at our health infrastructure. Do we have the capacity to handle issues to do matters cancer? When it, when now let's say a majority of Kenyans are suffering from cancer,
right.
They have the capacity to handle it. And once that is put in place, I don't see anything wrong, because for them to try import GMOs, they're trying to address the issue of hunger. And remember, Kenya is one of those countries that it has been hardly hit by drought, right? And GMOs they're bringing GMOs, to try to even sustain the people who are really suffering. So I don't see anything big about that.
Yes.
But the issue of GMOs, if you're someone who's going to, not really, but somebody who's having some little understanding, of course you'd see that GMOs are not good for consumption.
Maybe on that note, we are seeing what happened in the courts, in the legal corridors. The High Court today made a ruling that stops, put an injunction on the importation of GMOs into the country, and of course saying that maybe just really the High Court temporarily suspended the government decision to allow importation and distribution of the GMOs. Pending determination of the lawsuit lodged against the lifting of the ban. So, since the government of the day lifted the ban on GMOs, a lot has been said. The civil society organizations and a lot of people and organizations, of course, have raised a lot of questions concerning the lifting of the ban. And we are seeing today the High Court, through Justice Dande, making a ruling that it's not stopping the government from implementing the importation and the green light on distribution of the GMOs. What do you see as the fate of these GMOs, the green light that the government had given on the importation and distribution of the GMO crops and foods? Do you see if, because this was a decision that was made to probably solve the issue of the perennial drought where food was in scarcity. So do you see it probably moving smoothly across these legal corridors and probably finding its way into the Kenyan markets?
Yes, Kenneth. You've talked of the court injunction.
Right.
They've put a restraint against the importation of GMOs there. And now it has come to a halt. Remember, just the way I said before, I believe what should be done is to address the issue of the health infrastructure that would be able to address the diseases that come as a result of taking in GMOs. Because if you go to the first world countries, those people are really organized.
Right.
They're taking GMOs, but they're quite, visiting hospitals frequently.
The health infrastructure.
Yeah, frequently.
Right.
They're doing some tests. They want to check if they're better or they're, how they're faring on in terms of health.
Yeah.
So personally, I say what I would suggest is that they address the issue of health infrastructure. Is now they look at the importation of GMOs, because if we import GMOs as we speak, and we lack the capacity to handle diseases related to GMOs, then we'll be in a very, very bad situation.
All right. My director is telling me that we are running out of time, and probably we need to cut this short. And I really appreciate, of course, your input, Neville, on this, and of course our guests who were not able to have him. Thank you so much. Let us take a look what's happening in the world of sports.
Sasa ni bora zaidi. Mwanzo mpya, mambo mapya. Msimu mwingine wa Boresha Kilimo unakuletea teknolojia ibuka, kilimo mseto, uongezaji thamani. Teknolojia dijitali ya mauzo inawezesha ufikiaji wa masoko. Soko moko yako, mahangaiko yako ya kufikia masoko yamefika kikomo, manake tunao Mkulima Yangu.
What Mkulima Yangu does is it connects farmers with the market.
Hii ni Boresha Kilimo kwa ushirikiano na Mkulima Yangu. Atafutaye hachoki na kichoka kesha pata. Kwa makala maalum ya kilimo, ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 6:30 kwenye kipindi ukipendacho Boresha Kilimo.
Welcome back. Let's now take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. Now, the World Football Governing Body FIFA has lifted the indefinite ban previously slapped on the Kenyan Football Federation, FKF, the body in charge of football in Kenya, following the government interference. FIFA has confirmed the unconditional and immediate lifting of the ban in a letter addressed to FKF CEO Barry OTIENO. Now, the ban on Kenya came last November when the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Amina Mohamed, ordered for audit of the FKF accounts, a move that saw the FKF President Nick Mwenda, implicated with misappropriation of funds meant for the sport and was arrested and arraigned in court. The ban meant that Kenya was barred from taking part in the 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifiers, while the women's team Harambee Starlets failed to play in the two-legged qualifiers for the World Cup against Uganda. Away from that, the Tusker FC have now taken the lead in the round 2 of the FKF Premier League after garnering their second win this season against Nairobi City Stars, beating them 4-1 at the Ruaka grounds yesterday. In other matches played, Kariobangi Sharks and a 3-2 win against the Ulinzi Stars at the Kasarani Annex as the KCB considered a defeat against Kakamega Homeboys. All right, and with that, we call it a wrap here on KTV Primetime News. Many thanks indeed for your valid company through the bulletin. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Makrina Chen. My name is OMONDI OTIENO. We meet tomorrow, same place, same time for the Primetime Bulletin. You have a great night.